Okay, so this one is the exciting conclusion to the short interlude to action adventure. We're going to be getting more action adventure later. So this is Jerry and the Goddesses, part 11. Here we go. Kid, you are definitely the weirdest spook I've ever met, and I used to work with a guy who ate toilet paper as a snack. I was tucking myself away. Apparently, being scared to death can help speed things along. Not that I ever wanted to experience this again. My face was beet red, and I couldn't bring myself to meet Gary's gaze, which was probably for the best. I know, just trust me. The babbling at the end was about the most normal thing about this night. Was that the Muppet song you were singing? No, Inanna. I was summoning my girlfriend. Uh huh. I didn't need to see his face to know he was giving me a skeptical look. Just wait, I pleaded. She'll get us out of this, I'm sure of it. I hoped. I mean, I know intellectually that Inanna is the goddess of war as well as sex and beauty and some other things. I'm not quite sure how all those things go together, but they do. I glanced out the window again and saw even more armed men. Jesus, it's like the city was full of them just waiting for the chance to come shoot some Americans. What you looking at? I screamed at the voice right in my ear. The men outside turned towards the window and I dropped. Gary had backed up and was aiming his gun at Sarissa. Don't shoot, I said without thinking. Sarissa, what are you doing here? You summoned me, silly, she said, booping my nose. What? No, I summoned Inanna, I said, looking at the sticky spot on the floor. Maybe I needed to burn it? Sarissa shrugged. DNA contains information. Information is knowledge. Now it's lost, so you sacrifice some knowledge. That seems like a stretch, I said dubiously. Sarissa sighed. You could at least pretend to be happy to see me. I am, sir. I hugged her. It's just that this is kind of more an honest thing. Oh, phooey. I can handle this just fine. Come on, we'll go out the front. She gestured for us to follow and then began walking down the hall. You, going to introduce me to your friend, Jerry? Gary asked. Oh, yeah. Gary, this is Sarissa, goddess of knowledge and learning and poetry and music, I think. Sarissa, this is Gary. He's a contractor with balls of steel and no time to bleed. Nice to meet you, Gary, Sarissa called over her shoulder as she led us back to the front. She stopped by Ixie to give him some vigorous rubbing before continuing on. I did the same, and my pet cosmic horror fell in behind us. I heard gunshots then. At first, just a few loud, boomy ones. Then more picked up. Machine guns and single shots echoed through the hall. What's happening? I asked no one in particular. Gary paused at a window to watch. Looks like they're being attacked. That'd be Inanna, Sarissa said brightly. She took a different route. Who's Inanna? Gary asked me. I could see he'd gotten tired of being skeptical, so I didn't even bother to keep it simple. My girlfriend, sort of. Goddess of sex and beauty and war. Sounds handy, he said with a shrug, and we moved on. No, not really. She's really demanding, and she has an odd sense of humor and magical powers, so. So what? So have you ever accidentally fucked a donkey, Gary? Because I have. It's not pleasant. Gary laughed, of course. He and Inanna would probably get along like old friends. Another wave of jealousy flashed over me, this one hot and bitter. I pouted. Whatever. Gary would probably steal her away without even trying. At least I'd be able to get more than 4 hours of sleep a night after that. The gunfire got faster and louder, and I started to hear shouts and yells mixed in with it. A group of men burst through a door in front of us, and Gary shot one while I screamed and dropped my gun. Sarissa lifted a hand as bullets bounced off of her, and the other 4 men all fell to the ground, spasming. I collected myself and helped Gary kick the rifles away from them. He took some more clips off of them while I asked Sarissa, what did you do to them? Oh, I just gave them a full set of sensory memories of what it's like to be consumed by Ixie. Nothing permanent, mind. They'll survive. Well, except for that one. She nodded at the guy Gary had shot. He's going to get an infection and die in a couple of weeks. I moved around the seizing men and the bloody guy laying prone, and we entered the foyer. There were glass doors, and I could see the chaos and shooting out the front. Men ran around, occasionally dropping dead, frequently stopping to fire down the street. I couldn't see what they were shooting at first. But then some of the dust swirled away and I could see straight down the road. A single figure, small and bulky, moving in that kind of half-crouch Gary had been moving around in all night, gun swaying back and forth, spitting fire. As it drew closer, I could see long black hair flowing behind. It didn't make sense to me. Soldiers have short hair. Closer still, the figure resolved into that of a woman. Who was this and where was... Oh! I recognized Inanna suddenly. It was so odd to see her wearing clothes, but there she was. She wore jeans and a white t-shirt with "Fuck Me Silly" written just below the collar. She had on body armor that reminded me of Gary's, except hers looked thinner and lighter. Clips and hand grenades and knives hung from Velcro straps all over it, and she had fingerless gloves, knee pads, and elbow pads on. As I watched, she systemically shot down everyone she came across. At one point, she stopped to reload, grabbing a clip from her vest and expertly swapping it out, then putting the empty one in a bag that she wore on a thick canvas belt. "Dear sweet baby Jesus, I think that's the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life," Gary muttered as she drew close. There was barely anyone left alive on the streets, and most of them were crawling for cover. As she drew close, she beamed a smile at me. "Hey babe, how's tricks?" I waved, unsure of what to say. Just then I saw a man stand up behind her, raising his gun. Gary was staring at Inanna enthralled, and Sarissa was petting Ixie. "Gun!" I shouted. Then I remembered that I had one too. I lifted it up, mimicking Gary as best I could, and lined up the 3 dots on the guy. I squeezed the trigger and damn near dropped the gun when it bucked in my arms. I fumbled for it, caught it, and had a second to realize I was so dead before I realized the guy wasn't standing anymore. He was laying on the ground. Inanna's eyes went wide. She looked over her shoulder at the guy and then back at me. I recognized the glint in her black eyes and dropped the rifle. "That's so fucking hot," she breathed, chest heaving. Suddenly she was nude again and she leapt at me. I screamed. Gary balked. Sarissa laughed. Ixie, well, boiled and convolved. Good times. The end.